Okay, so I want to start off with our first speaker, but I put this up here. It shows the importance of elections and electing the right people. President Trump had so many good policies in place. He had taken out the money going to the Palestinian territories. He stopped he put a lot of sanctions on Iran, which starved a lot of the money they were getting. And we had a lot of peace, and we had the Abraham Accords and all that. And then, of course, Biden comes in, and I put this up here because that shows in 2021, right in January, after he got sworn in as president, he starts the money back up to the Palestinian territories, and they get that money. You know where that money goes, to terrorists, and because it goes to Hamas. And what do? They build tunnels with it and buy munitions. And he does away with, or he doesn't enforce the sanctions on Iran, so they start getting them. So I wanted to talk about this tonight because we are very fortunate to have Kobi Erez here today. Kobi, where are you? All right. Kobi, come on up. Kobi has spoke with us before. He was in the Israeli military for 3 years, and he is now a military reservist. So, Kobi, thanks for coming back to NORC.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt. You know, it says in Judaism, it says in the Bible, that those who bless Israel, those who stand with Israel, God will bless them. So, Matt, we're lucky to have you as our friend, and God bless all of you who support Israel. So I'm going to talk about what's happening right now in Israel. What happened is a catastrophe on a biblical level. This is the worst thing that happened to the Jewish people since the Holocaust. We had a mini Holocaust in Israel on the 7th of October. And I'm sure all of you know what happened. I'm just going to give you a little bit of a synopsis of what happened, how we got to where we got to, and where we're going from here. This is not just an Israeli Hamas issue. This is not just a Middle East issue. This issue touches a regional, worldwide conflict. There are coalitions here. Everybody's involved. All the countries are involved. And everything is surrounding Israel right now. So this has a direct impact on the U.S. And everything that happens there has a direct impact on the U.S. and the U.S. coalition. So what happened? October 7th, Israel woke up on a Saturday. Saturday is a holy day of the Jewish people. It's the Israelis' Sunday. And what happened was thousands of ISIS, Hamas terrorists broke the fence with bulldozers, got into Israel with weapons. About 1,500 of them went into Jewish villages, killed families, whole families, babies, women, children. I'm going to tell you what happened. They decapitated the heads of babies. They raped women. They murdered women, and then they had sex with their bodies. They burned people alive in their homes. 1,500 terrorists went in. Israel was completely surprised, and we're going to get to that, because Israel has one of the, maybe besides the US, Israel has the best intelligence in the world. So how did this happen? For about 36 hours or more, Israel had to, literally people with guns in Israel heard about it, went down there, soldiers went down there, and we had to fight door to door. I lost my friends there. Everybody in Israel knows somebody who was murdered. In addition, there were more than 1,400 people were murdered. at this day. Just to give you an example, Israel is a very small country. We're about 8 million people. 1,400 in one day. 222 captured civilians were taken into Gaza. Babies, children, women. This is something that we never, ever imagined that could happen in Israel. Israel was resurrected after 2,000 years, right after the Holocaust, where we lost 6 million Jews to the Nazis, and now we're fighting the new Nazis. Now, how did we get here? I'm going to start with a pessimistic view of what happened, but this is the reality, and I'm going to move to the optimistic view of where we're going from here. This happened for various reasons. One is that the Jewish people in Israel, because of the media, a lot of it, we lost a sense of who we are to a deterioration in our people stopped fearing, the Palestinians stopped fearing Israel. My dad told me, even when I was a kid, we used to go, and when you used to see an Israeli soldier in the street, the Arabs went to the other side because they were afraid. That changed because of different progressive ideologies that got into Israel. The Oslo Accords, for those of you who don't know, in the 80s, Israel said, okay, let's give more land. It worked with the Egyptians, it worked with the Jordanians, which, by the way, there's a big threat from the Egyptians and the Jordanians right now. Okay? This is not a real peace. A real peace in the Middle East comes only from power. They'll only respect you if you have power, and the only way you'll have peace is if your enemies fear you. So it started with rocks. Soldiers can't defend themselves. It went to Molotov cocktails. And so on and so forth. And we got to where we got to now. Now, another problem is that the army, now people saying, how come there was intelligence? For the past year, they've been doing drills around the fence. Hamas was doing drills around the fence, close to the fence, and the IDF just ignored it. What they did was they did drills every day, every week, and the Israeli army said, okay, it's just another drill. The girls, there is a certain role in the army of soldiers who look into monitors. Their job is to look into monitors, look at the sensors, and report to the commanders what happens. Usually it's females who do that. They sit, and you need a lot of patience, because what happens is you look at the cameras, and all you see sometimes is just a scene of rocks, trees, and people around you. And you can't get bored. You have to look at this screen all the time. These girls, these female soldiers, told their superiors, there's something wrong here. There are terrorists. They're getting closer and closer. Something's happening. The IDF generals ignored it. In fact, a night before, the head of the IDF, the head of the Secret Service, the head of intelligence, and others sat, and they didn't let, from what I know, they didn't tell Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, what was going on. And they said, you know what, it's another drill. And this is where we got to. They broke the fence, and they just went into. Now, besides the fact that we lost our people, there's a strategic threat here to Israel. Not directly from this incident, but the threat is that there's a psychological barrier that has fallen. That the enemy is saying now, This is what the enemies are saying, including in Judea and Samaria, the Palestinians in Judea and Samaria, a lot of Israeli Arabs. There are some Israeli Arabs who recognize Israel, but there are a lot of that don't, including doctors and people and lawyers who all of a sudden they're saying on Facebook, we loved what Hamas did. We love that Hamas raped children. We love that they burnt people alive. And now they're getting fired, but not enough. Now, the scenario right now is that if there's going to be a war in the north, now just to give you a little bit of geography, Israel is surrounded by enemies. In the south you have Hamas, you have Egypt. In the east you have Jordan. If you go northeast, you have Syria. And Syria, who does Syria belong to right now? Who is the real ruler in Syria right now? Iran and Russia, by the way. And Russia. This is where America comes into the fold. And then you have Hezbollah. Hezbollah is a terrorist organization, the strongest terrorist organization that ever was in history. They have more weapons than a few European nations combined. They have 150,000 missiles directed into Israel. They have 10,000 commando that if you think that what happened in Gaza, near Gaza, in Israel, was bad, Hezbollah is 20 times stronger, 50 times more sophisticated than Hamas. And they have 10,000 commandos that have experience fighting in Syria against the rebels. And they're all sponsored by Iran. Now we have to understand all this evil is sponsored by Iran. Iran is the head of the snake. Now, I'm going to jump to the before I jump to the world view of what's going on. So what's happening in Israel right now? A lot of people who used to be on the left, the concept of, hey, if we give to them, there's going to be peace. No, a lot of people realize who we're up against. We're up against ISIS on steroids. And you have to stop them. And you have to win. So, by the way, I was a little bit of a secret because I don't even tell people in our community, but I was supposed to go to Israel yesterday. I didn't because my wife is my boss. But also because I want some things to fall into place before I go because I want to be able to contribute. Israelis, Jews, we're more united than ever. We're getting back to our roots. We understand that this is good versus evil. And we're on the good side. There's God. And we remember that. We have to remember that. Because all the army in the world, you can't do anything without God. Nothing. If you look at the Roman Empire, you look at the Egyptian Empire, nobody believed that they will be gone, but they are gone. What's more important than weapon is spirit. And what I see in Israel right now is the spirit getting back to us. I see soldiers singing, believing. And this is a historic moment. And we're going to take this, and the army understands, the government understands, we have to take down Hamas. This is the Gaza right now, aside from Lebanon, is the hardest place. Urban war is very hard for those who are in the military. Rachel, you know, urban fighting is very hard. When you go in, you don't know where they're going to come from. In addition to urban fighting, they also come up from the ground. Gaza, you have the Gaza. I don't know if you know the map. You have Gaza, the upper Gaza, and you have the bottom Gaza. Bottom Gaza is the Gaza underneath the ground. They built with all the money that they got from the U.S., from Iran, from other places. Instead of giving it to their people, to hospitals, they created a city underground that is built all of tunnels. That's where they took the 222 hostages, including babies. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that your baby is taken by ISIS, your kid, your 13-year-old girl is taken by ISIS, I don't even want to tell you what they're doing to them right now. But we're going to win this. We're going to win this. We're going to go in. It's going to be hard. We're going to win this. Now, there's also a problem with the north. What if Hezbollah starts something? And now I'm going to go into the strategic, geopolitical aspect, and then you can stop me anytime, Matt. Okay? But this is about the spirit. Okay? We're going to win this. Now, what does it have to do with you besides the fact that this is good versus evil? This is good versus evil. If it doesn't stop in Israel, it will come here. It will come to Europe. And the Europeans see that, by the way. Because naturally, the Europeans are anti-Israel. That's how it was. But the Europeans now understand that if Israel doesn't beat Hamas, ISIS, it's going to come to Europe. Because the extreme Islam, extreme Muslims around the world are seeing this as an opportunity. They're saying, hey, look, the prophecy is right. We're going to take over the world. Now, how does that have to do? Why did Biden send the ships, right? A whole army of ships. Now, it's not just because of Israel. It's actually more because of Russia and China and Iran. Okay? America understands that a strong Israel represents the interest of the United States of America. Saudi Arabia, right now, is on the verge. They saw what happened when America left Afghanistan. They saw what happened when I work for an organization, so I'm not gonna wear my hat because we're not political, we're nonprofit. But as a private person, they saw under a certain administration, you can guess for yourself, how America sometimes neglected its enemies, its allies. Saudi Arabia, for years, have been trying to push America to go against Iran, but unfortunately, under the Obama and the Biden administration, they only wanted to give billions of dollars to Iran. Saudi Arabia decided, you know what? Screw this. We're gonna do a deal with Iran ourselves because they're terrified from Iran. Saudi Arabia is a Sunni country. Sunni, right? It's a sect in Islam. Iran is Shiite. For thousands of years, they've been fighting, and nothing has changed. The Middle East is the same Middle East for 2,000 years. So now America understands that if Saudi Arabia goes with Iran, oil is going to skyrocket. Because I don't know what to tell you, Saudi Arabia is one of the biggest exports of oil in the world. Not only that, Russia, which which the U.S. sees as a strategical threat, Russia and China, America has invested billions of dollars to fight against Russia and Ukraine. Now, if Russia is in Syria right now. Russia, believe it or not, the great Russia needs Iran to help arm against Ukraine. So now you have an alliance between Russia and Iran. And that brings into the fold China and North Korea. So you see that this war is not just an Israeli war. It's not just a Jewish war. This, my friends, and I'm not a conspiracy type of guy. I'm really not. But what I see is that this can ignite something much bigger, much bigger. And you see that Iran is already attacking U.S. forces in Syria and Iraq through its proxies. So this is why, by the way, it's important that every American that stands up for freedom, that stands up for truth, for true liberty, supports Israel. I hope it's okay. You know, my organization is raising money for communities in Israel. We realize that the army, you see, if you look at Israel, it's not like America where you have, first of all, you're protected by water, right? Imagine you have enemies from within, you have enemies around you, you have Palestinian villages, and we realized that our communities need to be prepared for what happens next. Because the worst case scenario is that Hezbollah attacks us, Iran attacks us, Syria attacks us, Israeli Arabs join the fight, and the Palestinians in Judea and Samaria. And then it's all-out war. So, what we're trying to do is we're trying to fundraise and help communities in Israel. If you're interested in helping, you can reach out to me later. But I'll finish with this. And this is I would say, a religious perspective, okay? I try to avoid speaking about religion sometimes when I talk about political and strategical issues, but this is a different time. I'm a religious Jew, and I'm a proud religious Jew. We've gone away from our country, the Jewish people, for 2,000 years. We made many mistakes. This is why we're exiled. We came back to Israel. This is going to be forever. And if you're with us, you're with the good. If you're against us, you're with the bad. So when you talk to people out there, and people don't know so much about it because today, depending on who you watch, some media outlets out there, you would think that Israel is a terrorist. So if you agree with me, it's your responsibility. Talk to people, tell people what's going on, tell people who are the good guys and who are the bad guys. Thank you, Matt, for having me, and thank you all.
Do you know what Mayor supports?
Kobi Erez, thank you so much. We appreciate your coming. And I'd like to say this to people watching on our YouTube channel, which this will be on. If you're Jewish, if you've been voting Democrat, it's time to switch over to the Republican Party. You've been voting for the wrong party. We support Israel, and we see people as individuals. We don't group, so it's time to Jexit.